Hey guys, this is Spark Plus Ultra here, and this is part 2 on what if Deku had toothless abilities, Shadow of the Light. And I hope you'll like this video. And let's get down to this video. Suki was at Ryoko's or his mom's home while he was dealing with school stuff to get in. His school clothes and his backpack to get to school. And Suki says, "Hey mom, I gotta go to school." And Ryoko says, "It's good to hear. I have to work on some hero stuff. But be safe and do a good job on your work, okay?" And Suki says, "No problem, mom. It's going to be easy." And Ryoko says, "Just try not to get in trouble, okay?" And Suki says, "No problem." And Suki then sprouts his wings and says, "See ya," and flies off. And Ryoko and says, "He relies too much on his wings, but he is pretty adept to them." And we get to Zuki, and Suki was flying at around Mach 1. And Suki says, "Sometimes it's great to use my wings. I don't like having it stuck on my clothes sometimes." And then he slows down and sees Yue. There it is. And lands on the ground and says, "Alright, let's get to class 1A. And Zuki then gets his wings back in and walk and looks at the classes and was amazed on how many there are. And then he found class 1A and looks at the door. It's really big. He smiles and has an idea. But when he was thinking, he hears somebody was yelling through the door, and then takes a little peek and sees a blonde-haired kid and a blue-haired kid with glasses. And they were arguing about, well, mostly Ida, who was arguing about the school policy and how Bakugo was disrespecting the rules and Bakugo not giving 2 ounces of worth on what he's saying. And Suki then smiles a bit. Nobody's noticing anything. And then goes to use a prize. But when he was going to do that, a certain person then says, "Oh, Zuka, it's great to see you. Good morning." And when he hears that, Zuka then shouts out, "Gah!" and then breaks down the door by accident and flies up. "I thought I told you to not do that." And all the students were seeing these two and seeing the door. And Momo says, why did you?" And Suki says, "I didn't mean to do that. I was so shocked by him. He scared the living crap out of it." And smiles on accident. And also says, "Sorry about that, Suki. I haven't really developed much social skills." And Suki then says, "It's fine. Just try not to do that." And Asa says, "Okay!" And all the students were weirded out on what he was talking about, but understands where this is going. And then Suki sees the white-haired redhead. And Suki says, "Hey, you're the kid that was being a jerk." And all the students look at Shoto. And Shoto says, "Oh, yeah? Did I offend you?" And Suki says, "You don't remember? You were the one that was not giving out a hand of gratitude to Anasa. You were pretty much stone cold at this point." And then Shoto, "Sorry, I don't remember." And Suki says, "Why don't I give you another handicap on the brain?" And cracking his knuckles. And Anasa says, "Whoa, calm down. You don't need to argue." And Suki says, "Why shouldn't I? He doesn't remember." And Anasa says, trying to calm him down in every possible way. And when all the students were about trying to puzzle what is going on, then someone says, "Are you guys making so much loudness? Or it's just your own habit?" And Suki then looks, and Nasa also looks, and Nasa says, "Oh, sorry for what we have made." And then the person says, "Never mind, you're already making noise already with that loudmouth." And Nasa says, "So sorry," and hitting his head on the ground. And Suki says, "You know you don't need to do that. I feel bad for your head." And thinking to himself on that, and the man says, "Get into your seats now." And all the students were in their seats, and the man says, "My name is Shozo Ozawa. I'm your teacher." And all the students were shocked, but Anasa, being Anasa, says, "It's great to meet you." And Suki then acknowledges Anasa's gratitude. Well, at least he was really straightforward. And Ozawa says, "Alright, we'll do the first your quirk assessment." And Achako then raises her hand saying, "Shouldn't we do the school assessment?" And Shoto says, "Yes, but it's my class and I do what I want. You do what I told you to do. And go into your changing rooms and get into your UA training clothes." And all the students were getting into their training clothes and were out and outside and working and seeing all of it. And Bakugo goes first because, well, Zuki was in the preliminary exam, meaning he wasn't in the other exam, making it obvious that he wouldn't go first. But Bakugo gets his usual score, so yeah. And all the students were thinking it was going to be too easy, but yeah. Ozawa then tempts the idea and makes a bet, and all the students were not excited for this idea. But then we get into all the exams, and Sugu takes, well, first on speed, because even in the How to Train Your Dragon, even his first burst of speed is most impressive, and taking very good distance on a long meters race is obviously Zuko, because he can use his wings to keep a steady distance on Mach 1 to 2 and 3. But he can increase that speed with overtime. But then we get to agility. I would say somewhere to 4, because it's relying on his feet. And jumping, obviously, Zuko bypassed that because he can fly. But even with that, he is pretty good at jumping without them. I would say if he had to not use his wings, I would say somewhere to 2nd place at best. And strength, well, this is not surprising because Toothless has never shown that much of a strength feat besides his fire blast power, but that's different. So I would say somewhere about 6, but even with that, that's so impressive. And throwing, yeah, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It would be somewhere in 5th. And yeah, that's where it ends. Then Ozawa looks at the invisible girl and says, "Alright," and looking at her. And the girl was worried that she would be suspended, and then Ozawa says, "Do better. Try working harder, okay?" And then he walks, and the visible girl was so scared and realized something. Was that a lie? And Momo said, huh? You didn't know that was a lie? And all the students say, you should have told us! And then the next day, every Class 1A student were in the class and sitting down. Then a certain person comes out of the door and says, don't worry, because I am here, walking like a true hero! And it's All Might coming out of the door, and all of them were cheering and were excited to see him. And then All Might says, alright, young heroes, it's time to do some villain and hero test. And you can use your support item when you were designing. And all the students were excited. And Zukyu's hero gear. Zukyu's hero gear is modified from his scales, relying on heat resistance and electricity resistance. And his armor is strong enough to be durable to resist from lightning strikes. And whenever he gets Gauntlet and puts on his Viking-like armor, he looks like a knight in the shadow, but he is the light to it. And then his sword was in his scabbard. Whenever Tsukyu uses his plasma breath, he lights the sword and it glows blue. And all the students were going out. And then Tsukyu comes out saying, sorry for the wait, I have been really excited to wear this. And then Inasa says, whoa, you look totally awesome while wearing that. You are one black knight, dude. Haha. And Chaka says, whoa, you look awesome. They look at him in all excitement and adoring his costume. And then Sue looks at Tsukyu's costume, and Sue says, remind me of knight in shining armor. And Tsukyu says, thanks for the compliment. And then Tsukyu says, want me to do an impression? And Tsukyu then grabs his sword, his black sword, and breathes out and says, I hold my vow to hold justice and do what honor, and kneeling down to Sue. And if I destroy my oath, I will die. And Sue then was blushing a bit, and Tsukyu then says, ain't that right, princess? And Sue then pushes his head back, and Tsukyu says, oh, what did I do? And Sue says, you're too much. And then Mina says, whoa, you're smooth, you know. And Tsukyu says, huh? What do you mean? That's my acting. And when he says that, All Might comes and says, alright, heroes, it's time to team up with your team. And then pairing up with Tsukyu and Mina, and the other team is paired up with Sero and Sugarman. And Mina says, alright, a black knight in his shining armor. And Tsukyu says, just call me the Shadow Knight. Mina says, oh, that's even better. And Mina says, but it doesn't really work when it's in the light. And Tsukyu then says, pulling out his sword, and says, I am the shadow of the light. And Mina says, okay, never mind. That looks awesome. And Tsukyu and Mina are bonding a bit and having a little fun. And Aoyama says, wonder how it's gonna go. And Sugarman says, well, it's gonna be hard, even if we've seen a bit of their quirks, but I'm still worried. And Aoyama says, no problem, because my sparkling will defeat them. And Sugarman says, right, and feeling a little underwhelmed on what he said. And Mina says, what do we have on the idea? And Tsukyu says, you could use your acid to use on the windows, and then I can fly you up to it, and we can push it safely and quietly. And Mina says, "Alright! Now, this is a team up of a lifetime." And Suki says, "No problem." And that's where I'm ending this video. I hope you liked this video and hope you subscribe. See you next time. Plus Ultra.